The annual Catholic Appeal. 60 years of changing lives in Western Massachusetts. Sharing, teaching, reaching. Respecting the dignity of life at all ages. Our Catholic mission calls us to be Christ in our world right now. Please donate to the annual Catholic Appeal today and help us put faith in action.
Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel, the UMASS hockey team is heading to the Frozen Four. We'll introduce you to 2 star players whose faith helps to keep them steady on and off the ice.
It's more than a meal. Local faith leaders find out how the Lenten Rice Bowl program helps change lives around the world and here at home. I'm Rebecca Drake, and I'll have the story.
And Father Brian McGrath is in the kitchen cooking up some shakshuka, a meatless dish featured in this year's Operation Rice Bowl campaign. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. While spring has sprung, some action on the ice still has many captivated. This coming Thursday, the UMass hockey team takes to the ice in Buffalo, facing Denver in the Frozen Four, the NCAA Division I Men's Hockey National Semifinal round. The team certainly was hot this year on the ice, and with 2 of their players on fire with the Holy Spirit as well. Back in February, when Nick Morganelli caught up with the players and their coach Greg Carvel on the Amherst campus, they discussed their faith and the team's 2019 promising season. In light of their postseason appearance, we thought you'd enjoy seeing that feature again.
The excitement this year with this hockey team has just been incredible. I went to one of the games against Quinnipiac, and I usually walk in and sit wherever I want. I mean, that was a sold-out game. The largest attendance in the Mullins Center for a sporting event.
It's more fun when your team wins, and those W's are certainly bringing out students and the community to the games.
The term they used was, can you wake the sleeping giant? And this year we've done that.
Coach Greg Carvel, formerly of St. Lawrence University and the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim before that, took the coaching job here 2 seasons ago.
My wife is from Amherst, and we were actually coming to visit her parents, and I said, I'll interview, and 3 hours into the interview, Ryan offered me the job, and it was hard for me to turn down. You could see the potential here to build a national contender.
He and the staff are leading the team in their success. They finished in 8th place last year and have floated in and out of 1st place this season.
I use the term clarity of vision, and every single person within this program understands our vision, and the standards within that are very high, and we recruit really quality kids who thrive under those situations.
2 of those quality recruits are sophomores John Leonard, an Amherst native, and Matt Murray from Alberta, Canada. They both realize the blessing they have in Coach Carvel and speak highly of him.
He's helped us on and off the ice, elevating standards, and it's just been a great experience for these past 2 years.
He's one of the best coaches I've ever had. He's just a really great mentor for all of us, and the way he approaches people and the way he teaches, and I think that's why we have the success that we do right now.
Reaching the #1 spot in collegiate hockey nationally is not easy, but it comes with a lot of hard work starting right here on the practice rink.
We really try to be father figures, friends to these kids. And a lot of it's based on Christian principles for sure. And with that, we hold the guys, we challenge them to very high standards. And it's in every part of their lives. They do extremely well in the classroom. Our team GPA is almost 3.5.
We all are working towards the same goals, and it's just all the right pieces are moving in the right direction. I've been on successful teams in the past, but like the connection and everything that's going on with the operations of this group is just up and beyond everything that I've ever seen.
John is one of the right-wing forwards, and Matt, their goaltender.
I got my first pair of skates when I was 3. So basically, as soon as I could walk, my family put me on the ice. And then got my first set of goalie pads for my 5th birthday or for Christmas. I just remember that was what I always wanted to do.
I'm the first guy to play hockey in my family. Everyone else was a basketball player. I like to, have the puck on my stick, make plays. I like to shoot the puck as well.
They not only play hard, they pray hard.
I have that Catholic background, so I do say prayer for every game, and it's about, kind of the preparation that, the routine that I have before games. And
I think I use it a lot more when it comes to visualization and building up to the event. What I do is I put my faith in His hands and in my preparation.
Both of these young Catholic Christian men are regulars at the Newman Center on campus.
He came here as a freshman and found a place here at the Newman Center. He lectures for us, he's a Eucharistic minister, and it's always a great witness for the students to see, this great hockey goalie, stepping up at Mass and distributing Holy Communion.
I'm a Eucharistic minister here, so I'll do some of that every other Sunday or so. But other than that, it's more just meeting people, saying hi, talking. I think just growing that connection and a home away from home.
With the loss of his friends in that Humboldt accident in Canada, where he lost 4 or 5 of his good friends in that bus crash, really hit him hard, and we had the opportunity to sit down and talk about that and to work through those things and to help him to grieve through that whole process. That he wanted to remember those hockey players and etch their names on his helmet that he plays every game with.
His faith is extremely important to him, and he is, he doesn't broadcast it, but it's obvious just the way he carries himself, and he's just very focused, committed, again, holds himself to high standards. He's the kind of kid you want your daughter to marry.
John Leonard worships with his family each weekend.
We go to St. Bridget's together, and I see him at Mass on Sundays, and I know his family, his faith and community is a big part of his makeup. And so, to me, we're very fortunate to have him for a lot of reasons, not just because he's a dynamic player, but he's a kid that adds to our culture.
And hopefully that spiritual nature, the spirituality that he has together with Matt will lead them to success, down the line.
Could be a special year for our team. I'll go back to the quality of the kids in the room and the quality of the staff, and it can't be overlooked how important it is to have good people trying to do good things.
Goodness and godliness in a great team that's poised for the postseason. For Reel to Reel, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And many of you will remember John Leonard from his successful high school hockey career at Pope Francis Prep. Best of luck to the UMass team this coming week in Buffalo. And still to come on Reel to Reel, Rebecca Drake with the story of how Operation Rice Bowl helps the poor and vulnerable locally and globally. And speaking of Operation Rice Bowl, Father Brian McGrath cooks up a Rice Bowl-inspired meatless meal. These stories and more are all still to come on Reel to Reel.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy day and join us Sunday morning. We welcome Father William Wallace from St. Peter's, St. Casimir's Parish in Westfield as we celebrate the 5th Sunday of Lent. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday mornings at 10 on TV 22 News, WWLP, and coming up next on Fox 23, WXXA.
The Annual Catholic Appeal. 60 years of changing lives in Western Massachusetts. Sharing, teaching, reaching, respecting the dignity of life at all ages. Our Catholic mission calls us to be Christ in our world right now. Please donate to the annual Catholic Appeal today and help us put faith in action.
Butcher, baker, candlestick maker, I didn't care what they grew up to be as long as they were happy. To give up marriage and children just seems like too much to walk away from.
He seems to think he's making a real difference in people's lives, and he's so happy. Isn't that what's most important?
I never would have imagined our son as a Catholic priest.
Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
A new film about hope, love, and family. The fabulous Hartford stage has a dazzling comedy, and a long-awaited film about the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, is finally here. Let's take a look at this week's Real Culture.
Rise and shine. Breakfast is ready in 10 minutes.
Okay, are you looking for a film that just makes you happy? A film that makes you thank God for every day we have on this wonderful planet? The film to see is called Breakthrough, a film that stars actress Chrissy Metz as a mom who has an emotional talk with God about her son who falls under the ice. The film opens Easter weekend. What a great time to see such a moving film. Do not miss it.
We've done everything medically possible. There's nothing more we can do.
No. Please, God, send your Holy Spirit to save my son.
There was no way out. I had to go to Totley.
And now for some silly stuff of the highest realm. And it's found in the new crazy comedy, Perfect Nonsense, the new play at the Hartford Stage Company, which will be playing till April 20th. What happens when a wealthy gentleman decides he's bored and wants to put on a one-man show? Well, everything goes topsy-turvy, but in a good way. This is a top-notch British farce with everything working in its favor. Now, director Sean Foley will have you laughing till your sides hurt. If you like silly stuff, as I said, this play has it in spades. Do yourself a favor, darling, and do not miss this total gem.
Waving at passers-by. Even singing some light snatch.
And finally, the film fans of Aretha Franklin have been waiting for since 1972. Yes, 1972. And boy, was it worth the wait. Amazing Grace was filmed by one of my favorite directors, Sidney Pollack, in the new Bethel Baptist Church in Watts, California. It goes behind the scenes with the Queen of Soul and shows how hard she works for her perfect piece of art. It also shows the members of the church enjoying this once-in-a-lifetime happening. The film will be in limited release until later in April, but once it appears, relish every moment. It shows why she really is the queen. And you can see my reviews, as well as read other movie reviews, provided by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops online at iobserve.org. That's iobserve.org. The next time we meet, we'll be talking about our spring preview of films. and also the fabulous new musical playing at the Majestic Theater in West Springfield called The Marvelous Wanderettes. I'm Mark Giza for Real Culture. Have a great weekend.
Each year during Lent, the iconic Catholic Relief Services Rice Bowl is a staple on the tables of Catholic families across the country. This simple cardboard box is a tool for collecting Lenten alms and comes with a Lenten calendar that guides families through the 40 days of Lent with activities, reflections, and stories. A recent workshop highlighted the benefits of this global program. Rebecca Drake has more.
They prayed, they listened, they broke bread together. And a group of catechists, parish workers, and diocesan staff members left a recent workshop ready to bring the Catholic Relief Services Lenten Rice Bowl program to parishioners throughout Western Massachusetts. Guest speaker Mary Barboza, a Catholic Relief Services employee, explained the ways the Rice Bowl program helps the poor and vulnerable, both locally and globally.
Your work and your prayers, we are touching about the lives of 120 million people around the world at this moment. So this is a marvelous thing that we have.
Participants at the workshop, which was held at the Bishop Marshall Center in Springfield, learned that more than 14,000 faith communities in the U.S. raise nearly $12 million each year, 25% of which stays with the local diocese.
We really didn't know too much about what the Rice Bowl really went to. So we were very surprised when we learned that 25% stays locally in particular. And we didn't know who it helped.
The annual Lenten Rice Bowl program nets $10,000 to $11,000 for the Springfield Diocese each year, providing aid to local agencies like Sandwich Ministries for the Homeless and the Take and Eat Weekend Meals program for the homebound.
Ways that people have done small things, but small things with big heart to help meet those little niches of need that perhaps are not met in other ways.
In addition to meeting those basic material needs of our friends and neighbors, the Rice Bowl program is a manifestation of the mission given to us by Christ himself.
In order to give, and to give with a heart like Christ's, one needs to know really what's going on, and it needs to know our faith and how our faith asks us to respond to those things that we find in the world that are unjust, where you find the poor and the vulnerable.
In sharing the stories of those lives that have been enriched by Rice Bowl donations, Mari Barboza finds inspiration in the generosity of local faith leaders.
What's motivating me is to be able to talk to those that are on the ground, to the DREs, to the youth ministers, to the people that are working with our faithful, with our youth, so that they can take this message, this gospel of reaching out to the most vulnerable and poor around the world and touching them with the hands of Christ and giving them hope, bringing life around the world.
For Catholic Charities Director Catherine Buckley Bronner, Catholic Relief Services Rice Bowl program demonstrates the good work of the Catholic Church throughout the world.
The CRS stories raise up not only the poor and the vulnerable, but it raises up the work of the church in response to this. And that work has been amazing. But it only remains amazing as long as the people support that work.
And those at the recent workshop pledged their support for the annual Lenten program of prayer and almsgiving.
Our big plan is to bring it back to our parish and not just incorporate it with the CCD children, but we'd also like to bring it to the parish as a whole and maybe do a little workshop talking about showing the videos and seeing how the rice bowls really do help people.
Bigger than a bowl and more than a meal, the Lenten Rice Bowl fills bodies and souls with the bounty of God's love. For Real to Real, I'm Rebecca Drake.
So as we just saw with Rebecca's piece, People are putting money into the rice bowls on a daily basis during Lent, and we're almost at the end of Lent now. We're here with Father Brian McGrath from St. Mary's in Lee, who is going to give us a little recipe from this flyer that came in with the rice bowls, and a calendar actually that has recipes from the different countries that are featured that Catholic Relief Services ministers to around the world. We picked a recipe that actually is this week going to be featured during the calendar portion of this.
Yeah, it's all full of great articles or stories of people, daily reflections, and these recipes. So we're going to try to do shakshuka from the Gaza Strip. And it's a really simple recipe that takes green chilies and red tomatoes, garlic and onion, a little bit of olive oil, maybe some ketchup, salt, and it's a simple recipe. So let's get started.
Okay.
What does it say?
It says to heat the oil in a large pan. So you have 3 tablespoons of fair trade olive oil. One of the things that Catholic Relief Services, Father Brian, is big on is fair trade.
Yeah, and we talk about reaching out to the poor and needy. It's just how we can live that affects others. And so think about buying conscientiously, things that would go back to the people who grow it. We use a fair trade olive oil. We use local ingredients, local onions and things like that. Some of it is going to be pre-bought with the chilies come from far away, but it hopefully reaches out to others.
So you saute the onions and the garlic. You have 1 onion chopped and 2 garlic cloves minced. And we're just going to let that saute with the onions, and this seems like it's going to be spicy.
Yeah, especially when I saw green chilies. But you can buy green chilies in different varieties, and I picked the mild ones.
Good.
So garlic can be a little bit spicy, but I didn't find it at all when I tried it once before we were doing it now.
So the journey to Gaza is one of the stories that is in this flyer, and it talks all about the God of hope and this one woman's story, her journey. Her name is Ona, and she always knew that she wanted to be a shining woman in her community and an example to her 2 daughters, and she studied hard and earned a teaching degree at the university, but in Gaza she was not able to find a job. And there's a lot of oppression, and people suffer.
Yeah, and so Catholic Relief Services is able to reach across, and the money we donate to our rice bowls can really make people's lives so much better in these places.
So I understand that this would be something that they would cook on the Gaza Strip, shakshuka. And now during this week and every week during Lent, you have something that you can do on a daily basis. If you look at this calendar, many people hung it up on their walls in their kitchen or wherever.
I keep it right in my dining room.
Yep. So you start off on Sunday with a story of hope, and this week we pray for Ona and all those in Gaza who cannot find work. And then on Monday, you can learn about Gaza. And Gaza is only 25 miles long and at almost 6 miles wide, but has a population of almost 2 million people. And it says if you give 50 cents for every chore you do or job that you have had, put that in your rice bowl and...
Right, you see it all add up. So our onions and our garlic are sauteed. We're gonna, what's the next step?
The next step would be to add the chilies. So you have 1 7-ounce can of green chilies.
7 ounce.
1 7. So don't add all those chilies in there, Father. You add the chilies, including the juice, and you cook until they're soft. And then you have 1 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. And you add the tomatoes to that. And you're also going to be adding a tablespoon of ketchup. And you are going to add some salt as well, 2 teaspoons of salt.
And let that simmer down a little bit.
So while you're fasting during Lent, what are we called to do while we're fasting? We shouldn't be cranky about it, right?
Right. Well, it's a season of penance, but it's also a joyful season. And so our sacrifices are not to put us in a bad mood, but our sacrifices are really meant to open ourselves up to others. So sometimes we're so full of the stuff of this world, to simplify our lives, to make a little bit more space for prayer, for works of charity. If you think about so many of our sacrifices, you know, people will give up chocolate, or I'm giving up chips for Lent. And it's not because chips are bad or chocolate's bad, but in those moments when you see it or you're reminded of others, and it's this idea of like a season in which you are trying to be extra mindful of others.
And also we can be mindful of the people who don't have as much, who don't have freedom, don't have food, you know.
And the rice bowl is a great moment of that because, yes, there's some wonderful recipes and it's a simple meal. Wait till you see there's no meat in this meal. You can serve a family of 4 with just a few simple ingredients. But the hope is by doing something a little more simple, you can then take that money you save and give it to the people who need it a little bit more than we do. Well, our sauce is starting to reduce, and this is one of my favorite parts. They want us to make a little bit of an indentation.
This would be a perfect meal for a Friday night.
Right?
Yeah, and to get the kids to try something different. You know, it's not fish sticks and we used to have, did you have fish sticks when you were little? I haven't had a fish stick in years.
We do a simple supper on Friday nights at the parish. And last Friday was tuna fish sandwiches.
Oh, I love tuna fish.
So the heat of the red sauce, the tomatoes and the green chilies are going to cook the eggs. We're going to cover this up, right?
I believe so. Cover until the eggs cook. Leave the yolks runny.
Okay.
If you like runny yolks.
Some people want them a little harder, but we'll let that cook up. We'll clear off our table and get ready to serve.
Okay.
All right, so the shakshuka has been reducing. We can bring it over to our counter here.
This is actually a pretty quick meal too.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, you could make this on a work night and
all we're going to do is serve you up a little bit of the sauce.
And you have some nice crusty bread here.
I know how much you like a little garnish.
Just put it way over on the edge.
And a little bit of bread.
My brows are already getting some sweat just thinking about it. Looks delicious though. It smells really good. Okay, well, dig in, right?
All right.
Happy Lent.
Happy Lent.
And if you would like to make the shakshuka recipe or one of the other meatless meals from around the world featured in this year's Operation Rice Bowl campaign, we have a link to all the recipes at iobserve.org. Remember to put the money you saved by not buying meat, an average of $3 per person per meal, into your CRS Rice Bowl to help feed those in need around the world. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Remember, for updates anytime, head over to our news and information site, iobserve.org. We also update our Facebook page daily with news of what our reporters are working on, so check that out and like us at Catholic Communications. And just a quick reminder that the annual Catholic Appeal is ongoing, and we still need to hear from many of you. Make a lasting difference in the lives of those in need. Make your contribution today online at diospringfield.org. That's diospringfield.org. And remember, this program also benefits from your generosity, so thank you in advance. And I'll see you next week at this same time for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Have a great week.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.